I never wanted to be an entrepreneur because my father has a small business and I saw him struggle all his life.
Why do you think you were so determined to create such a brilliant product?
I was in a really fulfilling job at the time, but that fire of doing something extraordinary was always there. When you're doing something that you absolutely hate is when you start thinking about what you would rather be doing, and that is what you should try to make a career out of.
Very often I meet people who they want to have a business idea, they're waiting for inspiration, but they think it has to be some mega idea.
Inspiration is never going to come to you right out of the blue. You have to go and seek out that inspiration.
Do you think entrepreneurship, business ownership is for everyone?
Nobody is going to believe an influencer now. That whole ecosystem is getting saturated is what we thought. Anyone else can do what you're doing. But the fact that they come to you to do it, that's what's fulfilling.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Everyday Empires. I have an exciting guest with me, Dishant, who is the co-founder of Winter. You are always the best person to talk about yourself, and I want to learn more about Winter. I want to learn more about you. So take it away.
Thank you so much for having me, Rohit. First of all, I'm honored, honestly, that you want to talk to someone like me. You want to have Winter and me featured on your podcast. So very happy to be here. I've seen a lot of your work and I'm a big fan.
Thank you.
And we were just talking before the podcast and it's unbelievable the number of hats you wear. I hope I get there at some point. And if I have any problems, I'm sure I'll get in touch with you. But thank you so much. Happy to be here. And so I'm the co-founder of Winter. I run the brand alongside my cousin, but he's like my brother. His name is Priyam Lalwani. He couldn't be here today because he's traveling for work. But I'm so glad I could be here today. And before I talk about my brand and before I talk about Winter in general and how it came about on my journey, I thought the best way to introduce a consumer brand is showing you the product, right?
Okay.
I have an interesting gift for you. I hope you like it.
So, wow. This is very exciting, guys.
Let's see
this is very exciting. All right. So this is one of your products, right? This is one of, it looks like a bag.
Okay. Yeah. So this is what we call the Winter Strunk. I'd be honored if you go ahead and unbox it. I'll help you here. Yeah, so this is the cabin size and it's the world's first suitcase and trunk in one piece. Just turn it towards you a little bit so that you can get a 360-degree view around the product.
My wife is going to be so happy with this. So
yeah,
thank you very much for the brownie points.
So do you want to see what makes it different? Let's say you've got a normal suitcase, right? How do you open it? You open it from here. You open it down the center like this. And this is it. This is a normal suitcase. You pack half of your stuff here, half of your stuff there. So this is your traditional suitcase. But what if you know you're going to a place where, let's say it's a tight hotel room, or you're going to an Airbnb, you're sharing it with a bunch of your family, and it gets difficult. Like you have to tiptoe around the room in case you've got luggage. Like this is a cabin, but imagine if you have a medium or a large and there's 4 people. That was the problem that we were trying to tackle. Like we wanted to create something and something like that exists, of course. That's called a trunk. So a trunk is something that just opens from the top. But why not a 2-in-1? In case you know you're going to be in a place where things are going to be tight, you open this compartment like this. You unzip a little bit of this layer here. So this now is a trunk. And incidentally, it also gives you around 15% more storage room versus if you were to pack it like this. So this is the world's first suitcase and trunk combined in one. And as a co-founder of an Indian brand, I'm so proud that we were the first ones to bring something like this to market.
Dishant, thank you so much for explaining this wonderful product. And cheers on building something that you're very proud of.
Thank you.
Because a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs get to a stage where they have the ideation, they maybe have some flow to something that they consider a business or product to sell, then they stop short. You know, motivation either kills it or some obstacle comes in the way. Why do you think you were so determined to create such a brilliant product?
The stage that you just talked about of getting to a certain point and then backing off, I've been there a lot of times. A handful of times I've been there. We've been very close to a certain idea and then we've just not executed it. One thing was clear from the start. Priyam, my co-founder, and I, we wanted to do something together. The reason for that is it just helps. I have done something alone in the past, and I thought now it's time to take an asymmetrical bet. An asymmetrical bet was something that one of my family members told me about, and that just stuck with me. I was in a really fulfilling job at the time of starting Winter. Decent money was coming home every month. My wife is also a model and a makeup artist, and she's great at what she does. So we were never really struggling per se, but that fire of doing something extraordinary was always there. And when you're in the corporate world, you're doing a job, of course, if you're half good at what you do, you're still going to reach up to a certain point. Of course, you may not become a Satya Nadella or a Larry Page or something like that. But if you're great at what you do, and if you believe in what you're doing, even when you're doing a job, that's great. I don't have any qualms against people who do a job. But it was just this fire of taking an asymmetrical bet and just going all in on something that we really believe in, something that we're really passionate about. And if that works out, the upside is just extraordinary. We're not there yet. We're still at step one. There's still 1,000 steps that we need to climb. But the whole idea was, let's take an asymmetrical bet. Let's go all in on something that we really believe in, something where we think we can add value in. And if we believe that we can add that value, we hope that people that we're adding that value for will also see that and reward us. And we've always tried to be honest with what the product is. We've tried to be honest with our pricing. And that's paying off. And we think that we're getting there. So the idea of starting Winter and getting into this category in particular was because India is at a very interesting juncture in its journey towards growth. Air travel penetration, for example, in India is still in single digits. Even in a country like China, it's over 20%. Country like yours or US or any of the Western countries, for example, it's way over 80%. So we have a lot of headway to climb. Another thing is,
when you say air travel penetration, what do you mean? What's that?
Out of the entire population, the percentage of people that travel by air every year, that's still in single digits, low single digits, around 5 or 6%. It's rising every year, and it's rising rapidly, but it's still very low. So the minute people start traveling more, the minute they want travel accessories. And we thought if we have something of value there, they'll see that value. The second thing is, as a country, India is becoming more and more mature. There's a rising middle class. The rich is, of course, getting richer. There's a little bit of income disparity that we still have to curb. But the rich are getting richer. The middle class is also getting uplifted. Our per capita income has risen over the last decade. And I hope that happens over the next 2, 3, 4 decades as well. So smartphone penetration is also increasing. And as a result of all that, the country and the products that we consume, they're moving more and more towards premium and high quality products. And people are starting to see value in paying a little bit of extra for goods that will feel that little bit of extra better. You know what I mean? So far, until now, I would say for the last 40, 50 years, the majority of our population has been trying to make ends meet. But now there is this certain set of population of our country that has their basic needs met. And now they're not trying to mimic Western people. They've realized that why can't I have a nice thing? Why can't we have something better? And why can't we have extraordinary things that we've seen and we've consumed content from? Like we see movies and videos, and why can't we have nice things? So there's a lot of population that wants that. So premiumization is one thing that's happening. And a third thing, of course, is luggage itself is going through a transformation. So we had soft shell luggage for the longest amount of time, which was fabric luggage, which had a lot of its flaws. It wasn't waterproof, and it just would pick up stains easily. It was easy to break into. But hard shell luggage is something that Indians are now getting more and more accustomed to. So there are a lot of tailwinds to this particular sector. Another great part about this industry for us, a lot of people might see that as a disadvantage, but for us, we saw that over 90% of market share is still with just 3 big companies that have had that market share for the last 5, 6 decades. And now's the right time for new companies like ours to sort of break into that market share and sort of make a mark for ourselves.
People often obsess about having a great business idea.
Mm-hmm.
And my rebuttal is don't worry about the business idea, worry about the execution.
Yeah.
Because that's the hardest bit. And as you say, you've taken step one out of 1,000+ steps, and that's the hardest step, as you know, as you found out, as most people who have businesses know. So I commend you on that because it's
Thank you.
phenomenal. Motivation to be an entrepreneur. As you mentioned, some of the things around having more control of your life, doing something that you're passionate about, and delivering something extraordinary. What do you think holds people back? If someone was listening to this episode that is being held back, what would be your advice to push through those barriers?
I think one is, of course, safety. I really can't tell you where or how this brand is going to be 6 months down the line. Of course, we know we're here to serve our customers. But if you were to ask me what do the 6 months look like, of course I have it on paper now, but I can't tell you with conviction. I'm not willing to bet my entire livelihood or my whole life on okay, the 6 months, this is how the next 6 months is going to turn out. It can turn out great. That's what we're betting on. But it can also not turn out great, right? So that's one thing. Fear is one thing. Second thing, which I personally found to be the biggest motivator for me, was encouragement from my family. And when I say family, mostly I mean my wife. Like I said, I was in a stable job. I was growing in a stable job. I was appreciated in what I was doing. But she knew that there is something that there's this some part of me that's that's missing, that last final piece of the puzzle. And she knew that I'm not going to be completely happy unless she gives me that freedom and she tells me that okay, I'm completely behind you no matter what happens. We're here, we'll take care of it, we'll figure it out. So encouragement from her was the biggest thing that pushed me over the ledge. The third thing is identifying what business you want to do. There are a lot of people, even in India, that want to go into business. They don't know what business they want to go into. I was also in that position. Like Priyam and we took, I think, around 2 years off and on, thinking about what it is, what it is, what it is. I think you're never going to be 100% sure about anything in life, right? Whether it's your partner, whether it's a house, whether it's a car, or whether it's a business, you're never going to be 100% sure. But if you think there's a higher probability because of your efforts and because of your expertise of making a certain thing happen, there's a higher probability of it succeeding than there is a higher probability of it failing. I think you should just take the leap. Now, I'm not saying everyone should go all in and invest a lot of money like we did. Like we created our own molds from scratch. We hired a designer. We developed a whole brand philosophy from scratch. Like we could have taken the easy way and we could have white labeled products from anywhere in the world and just put our brand name on it and sold it. But that's not the path we wanted to take. We wanted to create a brand. We wanted to create something that people would appreciate. We wanted to be different. I'm not saying everyone should do that. If you want to start something at a smaller scale and if you think you have a great product that no one else in the market has, but you have the capability of sourcing it and you have the capability of servicing it and bringing it to people in your country or in your market, I think you should do it. And then slowly you should start thinking about, okay, how can I backward integrate and how can I sort of add more of my local value in this product? Whether it's a service based business, it's so easy nowadays to with internet. More people, by the way, more people in India have a smartphone than a television or a broadband connection. 900 million people in India today have a smartphone and internet. They don't have a computer. They've not learned computers ever because in majority of our government schools we didn't have computers until now. But because of smartphones, they know everything that exists in the world. They can go and find suppliers for anything. They can go and find local artisans that are making things. So I think if you think that there is a certain segment that you can add value in or you're passionate about a certain thing, I think you should think about that probability. If you have encouragement from your family, I think you should just take the leap.
I want to get more into your background, but just as a final question that just pops up is that I meet a lot of business owners that have co-founders. Sometimes they have one, two, or three, rarely beyond that. And sometimes you have, the term is solopreneur, but I think that's just shoving words together. But how instrumental has your cousin, your co-founder, your brother been to you in this journey?
So before I get into my relationship with my brother and my
Please.
co-founder, another thing that I really want to say is that you don't really have to leave your job to start a business. So if you're doing something and you're getting money, just keep at it, but you have to moonlight. So that's something that, now coming back to my brother, he and I, we were both in, like, we were both working. We were both thinking about what to do. And we started the whole design process, and we started investing money into the product while we were both working. And we knew at some point one of us will have to take the leap and quit our jobs. So that was a big support system that both of us had. We knew that, okay, it's going to be either one of us that does this first and then the other person does it. But yeah, so now I'm the person that's sort of done that, and he's someone who's also handling, he's got a business, he's got a separate agency that he's still running, but I'm the person that has done that. So we had that backbone for each other. We had that support system.
How did you decide between you that you were the person that was going to quit your job? As you said, you were appreciated, you were earning good money, you were traveling the world.
Yeah.
I understand. So why you?
What we realized is during the first year of our businesses, we were so heavily reliant on ads, and we were so heavily reliant on influencers talking about our product or someone else talking about our product. We realized that unless and until we ourselves show the world what we've created, how we've created it, why we've created it, no one's really going to believe them. No one is going to believe an influencer now. That whole ecosystem is getting a little saturated, is what we thought. And as a new company, what are you reliant on to do and to sell product? You're reliant on Meta, you're reliant on Google. And maybe if you have a little bit of your network, you can sort of do a little bit of offline sales. But you have to put the word out there, right? So in order to put the word out there, of course, we had to hire a lot of people to talk about our product. We never really told anyone what to say. We always gave people a free rein to talk about a product, but we thought there's always certain things that are getting lost in translation. And we wanted to show people who we are. We wanted to show people what we're doing, why we're doing it, why we've created it, why you should believe the brand. And what's the best way for a brand to talk to someone is the co-founder, or it's the head designer, or it's anyone who has authority over the product is the person who's best to talk about the product. So that's why we decided, okay, you know what? Let's just take that leap. Let me quit my job, because it's very unfair for me to also have my job at the same time. And I'm giving a lot of my time to Winter, and I'm also have to do justice to my job, right? So I thought, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take the leap. I'm going to be the person who's always the face of the company. I'm going to talk about the product. And now we're seeing that, like, we've got a lot of content up on our Instagram in which I myself am talking about the product, and we're seeing that those things are performing way better than any influencer content is performing. Another thing was, things were getting so overwhelming at one point, we started hoping that there were more hours in a day. So it just that was also something that we just had to do. And third thing was, we reached the point where we had to raise money. And if you're raising money, no investor is going to give you money unless they know that you're in this 100% full, all of you. So yeah, we've raised a little bit of money. We've raised a debt round now, and to do that, I had to show the world that, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm building. So come and be a part of my journey.
A fair pitch.
Yeah.
A very fair pitch. But let's go back to how you became this person, because we're seeing you as an experienced business owner now, but you've had a journey before you've come to this chair that you're sitting in now. You were on a pathway to becoming a chartered accountant, right? At one of the larger accountancy firms in India.
Yeah, I was on my path to become a chartered accountant. This was right around my undergrad. In India, this is a course called Chartered Accountancy. There are 3 levels to becoming a chartered accountant in India, and I had crossed 2 levels. And the third level, between the second and third level, you have to do something called an articleship or an internship. So I joined EY, Ernst & Young, as an auditor. And I very quickly, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks into that job, I did that for a year, but very, very quickly I realized that I'm not built for this. And it's not because I couldn't grasp things. It was just that I realized that that's not my calling. And I'm just doing this because I was just flowing with the river. A lot of my friends at that time were trying to become a chartered accountant. So I thought, okay, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And a lot of people, young people, I think, are in that position. They don't know what they want to do with their lives. I joined EY because I didn't know what else to do. But going back, I would still do it again. Because when you're doing something that you absolutely hate is when you start thinking about what you would rather be doing. And that thing is what you should try to make a career out of. So I remember during my time in EY, there was this day when I had to sit at a toll booth and count the number of cars that are passing by, because
Oh my
because
God.
toll is we still rely on cash a lot in this country. So in order to audit whether the number of cars are right, we had to really sit and count. And as an intern, I was given that job. And literally the only thing I could think about was, dude, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing? Is this what life is going to be? I'm not going to be doing the big picture stuff unless I reach maybe a director level or something, I realized. And a lot of what young people do is execution. And a lot of people love that execution, but I just didn't like it. I really wanted to do something more creative. I wanted to go into marketing, and I loved cars growing up. So I wanted to go into marketing, and I wanted to go into marketing for cars, is what I realized. So I left EY and I tried to get a job with a car company, but no one would hire me. I wanted to do something in marketing. The most I could get is a showroom sales job, which is great, but I didn't want to do sales. I wanted to do the behind the scenes work of building the product. This is something that I realized very early on. So I got a job with a marketing, a textile company for 2 years. I worked with them. I was their international marketing associate. So during that time, I traveled all over the world with them. I represented the company at trade shows. I interacted with maybe over 1,000 people, having conversations with them. And then I would hand them over to a sales guy who would then sort of close the pitch, make
Yeah.
the deal and close the pitch. But just breaking the ice, talking to them, figuring out what their requirement is, whether we can fulfill that requirement. That was something that I realized I was good at. So I did that for a couple years to sort of understand what the world is like. And then I went into business school.
Okay.
And I went into business school with the sole goal of getting a job with this company called Tata Motors. That was my life goal. If I get a job with Tata Motors, I'm good. I'm sorted, because that was my dream company. And I'm happy to say that out of 180 people that applied for that one Tata Motors marketing opening, I was the only one that got selected for that. And that had nothing to do with my academics. It had nothing to do with how good I was at knowing what marketing is. It was just because I was good at talking to the people that I was talking to who were interviewing me, and they saw my passion. So that's an advice that I can give to anyone. If you really want a job, doesn't matter how good or bad you are at it, as long as you show interest in it, as long as you've done your homework, you know the industry well. Doesn't matter whether you've been a part of that industry or not. And alongside me, there were people who had been in the auto industry in business school, but even they didn't get selected for that job. Anyway, so that was sort of my dream job. I started working with Tata Motors. I was doing great. I was managing a couple brands for Tata Motors. This car called the Tata Tigor. There was another vehicle called the Tata Altroz. So those were the two products that I brought to market alongside a whole team, of course. Then I was asked to be a category manager. Like, they gave me a better position and told me handle a full category for international business. And I already had a lot of international exposure pre-business school. So I jumped at the opportunity. I was just about to graduate in March 2020 and COVID happened. So Tata, I was supposed to join the job right after MBA, but that job got pushed by a year. So during that time, in my final year of MBA, I realized that, okay, I need to let me see what's out there. And there was this incubation center in my business school that allowed us to bring a business idea and see if they like it, they would give you a little bit of money to sort of get a head start in that. So I started this company called Not Enough Merch. This was in the final year of my business school, where I was selling fan-made Formula One merchandise in the US. It was an online store. We built a whole ecosystem. I mean, I built a whole ecosystem around sourcing the designs and then getting it printed on things like a beer can insulator or a t-shirt or a hoodie.
How old were you at this point, just to give a reference?
I was maybe 24, 23, 24.
Okay.
I was, yeah, around that age. So, no, 25. So I was 25 at that time and I started that. So I did that for a year and a half. And right while I started my Tata Motors job is when I took an exit from that, because I realized that now at the stage at which the business is and the competition that's coming into this space, Drive to Survive became really big, the show on Netflix. Formula One became really big in North America. And a lot of competitors started coming in, doing the same thing that I was doing. Etsy and stores like my own. So I took an exit from that at that point because I knew that I'm not going to have the money to now invest into brand building. It's not going to be a performance game anymore. Earlier, it was only a performance marketing game. I realized that I'm going to have to spend a lot more money. And of course, I was really happy doing the Tata Motors job. And I couldn't do both together, even though I loved them both equally. But I took an exit from that. So then that's when I did Tata Motors full time. I was with Tata Motors for over 4 years, right from an assistant brand manager to then a category manager. Put my work and I grew in within the company. But then I realized that I always kept missing that entrepreneurial life. I loved it when people got in touch with us and touch with me for not enough merch, and they told me that how much they loved my product, and that was always on the back of my mind. And because Priyam, my co-founder, and I, we were always discussing business ideas, and we were always sort of throwing things at each other and trying to irritate the other person with, come, let's do this. And he would tell me, no, this is a shit idea. And then we would be like, we would argue about this all the time. And we would consume a lot of podcasts like yours. And that's when that bug hit us that no, now we need to like sit down and really seriously think about doing something and put our money behind whatever we're doing. So that's when we decided to get into winter. For all the other tailwinds also that I told you, this was the category that we thought we can add a lot of value in. The D2C space was also opening up for luggage in India. There were a couple companies that have done really well in D2C, and they've sort of ticked away at that market share that the three giants have. So we thought if we bring something that's a differentiated product at a great price point, we think there's a business to be built here.
I think a lot of people fall into that space where they get comfortable and they sit within a structure. And this is what I know, certainly within the accountancy world. You've got a clear structure.
Yeah.
You could even plan out your life for 30 or 40
Exactly.
years.
Yeah.
For someone who is sort of in a similar pathway right now, maybe they're at business school, maybe they're working for a company and they feel valued, but there's something missing within them. How would you help them push past that feeling that something is missing? And what advice can you give them specifically to say, okay, this is what you need to do tomorrow?
I think the first thing that you need to do is you need to stop doom scrolling. Stop. Just if you want to consume content, this is what I do all the time, even now. And my wife Kajol will be a witness to that. But if I'm consuming content, it'll always be something that's something that I'm interested in. Or it doesn't even have to be business related. It can be quantum computing. But it's just consume content that's adding a little bit of value to your life, that makes you learn new things. And when you're doing that, I'm sure there'll be something that pops. There'll be something that just keeps nudging at you and like, okay, dude, I had read this somewhere or I had seen this somewhere. And now what if there's a business to be built here? Right? That is something that I always tell people. Don't waste your time. There's a lot of content out there. Don't waste your time on just things that are just brain rot. That is number one. Number two, if you're great at what you're doing and if you see a clear path to becoming successful at that company, or becoming a CXO or CEO, CMO or something in that company, there's no need for you to start a business. But if there's something that's really bothering you, if you think that, no, this is not my calling is starting a business, honor your calling. Don't leave your job, but start researching about, let's say, make a short list about 3 or 4 things that you want to do. Research about all those 4 things, find out who the competition is, see if there is a gap in the market that can be filled, whether it's a service-based business or a product-based business. And then keep shortlisting, keep narrowing it down, and then probably you'll be left with 1 or 2 things that you can maybe, within the constraints, financial or time that you have, you can maybe at least take the first step with while you're doing the job. And then take that first step. If there's a business that requires you to quit your job right away to start that certain thing, and you're not certain about how it's going to go, I would say don't do it. Do it if you know, okay, I can do this while I have a little bit of safety, but it's also giving me a little bit of time on the weekends or maybe after work. And if my family is behind me, maybe let me start a certain thing. There are a lot of homemade businesses in India, homegrown businesses in India, where women who've been homemakers all their lives have now started doing something out of their kitchens or out of their homes. Like they've artisans or healthy ice creams and things like that. So it just needs to be something that you even take up as a hobby, maybe. And then see if you can hone that hobby into something worth, something that people would pay money for.
I like how you described sort of business ownership and entrepreneurship, because very often I meet people who they want to have a business idea, they're waiting for inspiration. Perhaps they're doing some of the things that you articulately set out, but they think it has to be some mega idea that's going to change the
it
world.
doesn't have to be. And inspiration is never going to come to you right out of the blue. You have to go and seek out that inspiration. You have to go out, you have to put yourself out there. Network as much as possible, meet new people. Not enough merch was not something that I had thought about and I was going to do this and I had planned it. I was just out drinking with a friend. My final year exams were over. I was waiting for my job to start and we were drinking and he told me that, dude, there is this whole thing about print on demand in US and I'm considering doing it. So I was like, oh, okay, print on demand, let me look it up. And print on demand was that word that got me hooked to this whole ecosystem of suppliers that's already ready, and a website that I can make on Shopify and I can list products on it and I can run ads on Meta. And all of that came through what? Just someone telling me about print on demand. So go network, talk to people, like get out of your comfort zone, find a little niche of people that are really that don't fool around, but like people that you can derive value out of. And then I'm sure there'll be something that pops. There'll be some little idea that comes and you'll be like, okay, let me write that down and then let me look it up. Let me see what this is about. And there's a lot of content out there. There's a lot of anything you want to do today. You can learn anything you want to learn.
You make this sound so easy, and I love that, because obviously you've achieved a lot. So what you're saying has a huge element of credibility behind it because you've done it. You can see it. For those that don't find it so easy, do you think entrepreneurship is for them? That you have to be this person that is maybe taking a note of things, willing to follow up on things, willing to research, willing to, as you say, meet people, get out of your comfort zone. Some people like comfort. Do you think entrepreneurship, business ownership is for everyone?
Growing up, I never thought that entrepreneurship is for me because my father has a small business and he's still doing that business. He manufactures this thing called monogram yarn, which is the branding that goes on your suitings and shirtings inside when someone's buying fabric. And I saw him struggle all his life. I saw my parents fight for money. I saw a lot of pressure on my dad. He would work Monday through Sundays. And I saw, on the other hand, I saw a lot of his friends and a lot of people, even in my family, who were doing jobs and they were very happy. They had work-life balance. They were spending time with their kids. My cousins would always have a fancier thing than I would. And I would always think that, oh, it's because their parents make more money. And why do their parents make more money? Because they do a job. And I never wanted to be an entrepreneur growing up. I never ever, which is why I went to business school. I told you, my life's aim was to get a job with Tata Motors and become the MD of Tata Motors. But it just happens, It just you take the first step and you've enjoyed that first step. And you think that, okay, let me take another step. So for Not Enough Merch, for example, I hired a designer. The first thing I did was I hired a designer to see whether fan-made designs even look good. I didn't spend anything. I spent maybe 200, the equivalent of 200 pounds on that. And I was like, yeah, these designs look good. I would, as a Formula One fan, I would buy that. So then let's see if I can put this on a t-shirt and let's get a sample. And then that sample turned out good. I was like, okay, I think, and if someone would buy this t-shirt in this color, yeah, this looks good. And then I built a website. And a website was not very complicated. Shopify, it's plug and play. You can just like sort of drag blocks and you can do it. So even with Winter, my cousin Priyam and I were not 100% sure about launching the brand until we knew we have a product that's great. The whole philosophy behind Winter was we loved the brands Remova and Tumi. Remova and Tumi are sort of like, they're my role models. I really love what they do. I love their products. But it's 800, their luggage starts at 800 pounds. Even if I can ever afford it through a monthly installment or something, majority of my country can never afford a Remova or Tumi at this stage. But why shouldn't they have that same quality? So that's the first step. We figured out that, okay, there is a gap in the market where the world knows that a product like that exists, but everything you get at this price point is sort of watered down. It's not that great. Let's see if there is a product that can be developed in this space. So the first step was design. You attract people with design, right? Like design is the first thing that pulls people towards you, and then you sell them on the features. We researched a lot about people that work in this industry, and we found this really great guy called Peter who lives and works out of London. He's got a design studio. and we had a conversation with him, and we spent a little bit of money. We spent over £1,000 on that,
Okay.
but it was Priyam and I together, so we split it. And it's when you work for 5 or 10 years, that little bit of money you can afford to spend on something that you think that okay, there might be a business here. So we hired Peter. Peter made a really good sketch for us. It was just a sketch for £1,000. We didn't get a lot. It was a sketch, but it looked really nice. And I showed it to my wife, who's got great taste. And we thought, okay, let's see if we can add something that's a little bit of different. It's a great design, but now how do you convert that customer who comes to you with just design? So we saw a lot of features that these new luggage had. There were digital weighing scales, and there were USB charging and things like that. So we thought, okay, how can we make this a little different? So the first product that we thought about was that a lot of cabin bags come with a USB port that you can charge your phone or any device with, and that works great. But what happens when you have to go through security check? Are you going to really open that whole cabin luggage, let the whole world see the underwear that you're carrying to remove that power bank? So we thought, why can't there be a little compartment outside on the back of your bag that you can house that little power bank in? So you don't have to remove the whole bag, but you still get USB charging. So the first product that we launched was something called the Winter Dawn series, which had this little compartment at the back which would open up, and you could just take a power bank out of it, finish your security check while the other person who has a USB charger inside the bag is opening it. So we thought, okay, that's enough. We made a whole 3D design along with Peter. We spent a little bit more money on that. And then we sort of went around finding suppliers and factories who would be able to help us with that. I had a little bit of advantage because I had worked with a company like Tata Motors. I understood what it takes to develop a supply chain. I mean, I had started not enough much. I had built a supply chain in the US while I was sitting in India. So I knew, okay, these are the ways you talk to a supplier. Oversell. Just tell them that you're going to be giving them so many orders, they're going to drown in orders. That's how you have to oversell when you're working with an unknown person. That person's never going to want to work with you if they don't know who you are. Why would someone want to work with you if they think that, okay, I'm going to spend so much time and money helping this guy develop this product, but then what if it fails? So we told them, gave them really big business plans, and we had to convince these factories to work with us to help us make the prototype. So we made the prototype. Eventually we went through 20 factories. We found this one factory that was able to, okay, with local products, they were able to make a prototype for us. And that prototype didn't look very good, but we knew that functionality, the openable power bank thing, that works really well. So then we spent more time and energy, a little bit more time. We sourced more components, better components from all over the world. So now the shelf for the winter Strunk, now the polycarbonate for that we source from Germany, because that's where we found the best polycarbonate. We tried Chinese, we tried Saudi. There's this company called Sabic, but we found the best quality to price ratio with this company in Germany. So now we source our polycarbonate from them. The metal corners, it took us 3 or 4 iterations to finish that proper metal, the finish that we wanted. We wanted to look like a nice iPhone. We wanted it to feel like an iPhone. When you unpack your iPhone, that shiny metal corner it has, we wanted it to look like that. So we couldn't find a supplier for that right away, but we found it eventually. So a lot of these things, like you just work at it, and during all this time I was working. Priyam was also doing he's got a business. He was doing that. He's the founder of one of the best digital marketing companies, I think, that's come out of India. So he was also doing that, and we would spend our time doing this. But if we were doing this full time, we would have developed it way sooner. But like I said, we wanted to be sure about the product before going all in. That's also the advice that I would give to someone who's watching this and who wants to start something on their own. Don't go all in. Just like baby steps. Instead of completing it in 2 months, take a year. There's no hurry. You always have your job. There's nothing that you're risking here, right? Other than the little bit of money that you're spending, which you of course could spend drinking or whatever. If you have disposable income, why not?
Thank you very much for sharing some numbers as well. I think some people aren't always comfortable sharing certain costs and things that they've incurred throughout their journey. So I appreciate that. And the numbers that you've mentioned, I agree, are not sort of an insurmountable amount that
Yeah.
anyone that's thinking
But
about.
they're not small numbers either. You have to have
Correct.
some conviction, a little bit of conviction, and then of
But
course,
worth finding out.
worth
for
finding
sure.
out. Yeah, exactly.
And you mentioned sort of when you had that first prototype, everything became real. I think
Yeah.
a lot of business owners might relate to that because there's always a moment within your business where you're not quite sure. You're sort of you're going through the fog of just figuring stuff out and you're
Yeah.
pulling everything together. And then there is that one moment where I wouldn't quite call it a eureka moment, but
Yeah.
certainly a moment where you go, this is actually a real thing.
I think that's the scariest moment of all. I kid you not. When it was ready and when I was like, okay, now I don't have anything else that I can waste time on. Now we have to go and build it. That's the only thing left. Now the bank is gonna get drained. That was the scariest moment for me, anyway.
No, it always is because at that point, when you take the leap, I think the leap is then. I don't think it's when you actually start. I think it's when
that's
you
when the leap is.
realize
Yeah.
that actually this is a thing. Everything's come together. Everything makes sense. You just need to have the bit of money, either you raise it or you have it yourself, to then go.
Yeah.
And that's the, as you say, that's the scariest bit because that's when you see the ledge, you see the opposite side,
Yeah.
and you need to make that jump.
And you don't know what's there on the other side. But the only thing you know is, okay, I have my certain set of skills. Priyam has a certain set of skills. Combining them both together, maybe we have a business here. That's all.
You've mentioned business school a handful of times, but what you haven't mentioned is what you learned from business school. So I want to delve that into a little bit because a few of my friends, a few of my family members, including my wife, have encouraged me to go to business school.
Okay.
And I've pushed back heavily. And I'll tell you why in a moment, but I want to hear your view as someone who's gone to business school, at a great business school, I understand. How did business school fit into your strategy over and above just getting the job at Tata Motors? If it was just that, fair enough. What did you learn, and do you encourage other people to go?
Literally, the only reason I went to business school was because I knew that Tata Motors comes to this company to hire people. That is literally the only reason I went to business school, to that particular school. And anyone who's looking, at least in the Indian context, if anyone's looking for a job or if anyone wants to, they have no idea about what business is, but they want to join a family business, for example, or they want to make that next leap in their career, but their qualifications are holding them back. I would say just go ahead and do it. But while you're in business school, I don't think the lectures or the professors are really going to help you that much. They're going to give you a guiding light and they're going to sort of give you a path. But you have the most, I think the most learnings I've ever had in my life is through YouTube. I have learned so much from YouTube and looking at other people who are actually doing the things that I want to do. I've learned so much more from them than I ever learned in business school. Of course, it's great to make friends, and I have really close friends from business school, and they're all doing great things in life. And maybe if I ever need help, that network might be of use. But if you think that you're going to have to take a loan to go into an expensive business school, I mean, that's what I did. Like I had to finance my education when I wanted to go to business school. But I going back now, I think I would not go to business school. Maybe I would just start not enough merch if I just knew about print on demand at that time. So I don't think business school is necessary. If you think that my calling is I want to become a certain someone in a big corporate company, sure, go ahead and take that leap and go into business school, but then make sure that you're one of the best in that school. Don't be an average student if you go into a business school. But if you're just there for learning, or if you think, again, this is what I believe, that if you think that the only reason you're going into business school is to learn, there are a lot of better places to learn from.
And cheaper.
Even the free of cost Stanford Business School podcast will help you so much more than spending maybe 50 or 60,000 pounds on business school and then spending 2 years of your life there. I would suggest just stop, think about it, see what it is that you want out of your life, and then make that leap if that's what you want.
So I'll bat for business schools, even though I didn't go to one. And
you didn't go to one? That's very
I didn't go to
interesting.
business school, not at all. I was I went to the University of York, studied philosophy, politics, and economics.
Oh, wow.
Nowhere near anything to do with
Yeah.
sort of entrepreneurship. And then the accountancy qualification obviously
Mm-hmm.
was directly related to business, but not in terms of owning a business or running a business. It was very much obviously from an accountant's perspective. So the closest I came to was like an FD or CFO type role. But the value that I see some people that have gone to some great business schools is that the network is phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's worth the price in and of itself. Forget about the learning bit. And I think probably the understanding now is at business school, what you learn is probably maybe 5% of the
5%.
worth.
Absolutely.
And the balance is the people that you meet,
Yeah.
the time that you take away from your job to be able to think through, as you say, you got the inspiration from Not Enough Merch because you were able to have those conversations. And one may argue that you didn't go on that night out to have a drink with a friend who told you the print on demand if you weren't in that space to be able to
absolutely.
receive ideas.
Yeah.
So this is the tangential element
Yeah,
that
but
business
see,
schools
with
would
that
argue.
being said, there are a lot more opportunities now where you can interact with business owners and people who are working for corporate without going to business school. There are a lot of networking opportunities that you can just sign up for online. There are organizations that they organize meetups. I think do that first. Maybe do that for a few months. See if this is the life that I want. These are the people who've been to business school, right? These are the people who've built businesses. Network with those people and then see whether I should take the leap or not. I think networking can be done outside of business school also. But of course, like-minded people and everyone there with the same goal of making either a business successful or growing in a growing up the corporate ladder. Maybe there's value in that, but I think networking can be done outside also.
You mentioned, I think actually almost at the start, is that you have done a fundraise and you're
Yeah.
looking to raise more funds. Let's talk about that. What are you fundraising for?
You said your viewers appreciate numbers, so I'm just gonna. I don't mind saying it out loud. Priyam and I invested over £100,000 of our own money initially to start Winter. That was all our savings, majority of our savings, and that was something that we needed to develop the mold and source the raw materials needed, and then set up this little assembly line that we have. So that sustained us for a year. Because money, of course, started rolling and we started seeing sales, of course. But then we had only one product. It was the Dawn series that I talked about, the one with the openable power bank. But now we've developed a bunch of more products, Strunk being one of them. We've got a couple patents on this, so the patents cost money. We've got a trademark on the word Strunk that cost money. Of course, the inventory cost money, the mold. We've developed another line of luggage that I told you about, a little lower cost one, backpack, briefcase. So we needed around £200,000. We spoke to 2 or 3 VC firms that were interested in coming along with us for the journey.
VC being venture capital, right?
Yeah, venture capital, yeah. But Priyam and I were very firm on not giving away equity at this stage because we thought we're at a very nascent stage of our journey. If we give away equity now, we probably have to give away at least 10% in order to raise the £200,000 that we need. And we were very adamant about, okay, if you want to come along, we're very happy that you're interested in us, but we don't want to give away equity at this stage at such a expensive valuation because we believe that we've got a very long journey. If we give away 10% or 15% of that at this stage, it's going to be a little bit difficult to raise money eventually because we're going to have to keep raising at least for a while. So then we approached one of the people that was really keen on investing with us. We told them, okay, you give us debt for £200,000, but we give you first rights of refusal for when we actually raise equity. And we got it at a decent interest rate. We got it at a 9.5% interest rate, which is lower than the market rate in India, but might be a little expensive compared to what you're used to.
Actually, a bit of feedback on that. That's an excellent rate.
Oh, is it?
Rate.
Okay. So we got it at a 9.5% interest rate. There's no limit on when we need to pay it back, but we hope to pay it back in the next 12 months. But now, because of the way things are going, and we know that there is a lot of demand for the Strunk, we might actually raise another round in 6 months, which would probably be an equity round because now we know that, okay, we've got perfect product market fit. we think now we're at that stage where we can, a little bit of money can give us that little headway to really put our name out there and grow properly.
There's a significant amount of money that you've put into it from your own personal resource, that you've saved up over time from all the jobs that you've been involved in, and of course you've got some external funding. For those that perhaps are not able to raise funds, or perhaps don't have their own savings or as much to invest as you and your co-founder did, what would you say to them? How would they go about sort of starting a business?
Don't go think about going into a category that has as much capital expenditure requirement as Winter did. Maybe with hindsight, Priyam and I would also not go into this. Maybe because we really didn't think about investing £100,000 of our own money when we started this. That just happened because we were so far into the product development stage, and the minimum order quantity for these were way higher than what we thought because it's our own product. If you really want to get into a category like this that does require a heavy capital expenditure, think about white labeling. Think about getting a product to market which is a little bit differentiated from what other people have, but at least you can just get a lower quantity in. You can test the market, and if you think that if your brand plays great, if you've got great creatives, if you're able to make a convincing case for your business or your brand or your product, then maybe you can think about raising money from friends and family or something like that. But you don't really have to have your own designs or your own products in every category. There's a lot of there are a lot of manufacturers out there that are waiting for people like you to come and just try out maybe 50 or 100 or 300 or 400 products. This is again specific to consumer products, but again, if you're thinking about doing a service business, you don't really need capex for that, right? There's this guy I follow on YouTube who's built a car washing business out of his Tesla Model 3 trunk.
Oh, wow.
And he charges $150 to go home to someone's house in LA, washes their cars. He's into cars. He loves detailing cars. And he does 3 or 4 cars a day. That's $600 top line per day. And he's very happy with it. So if you're passionate about cars, that's a business that you can do. So you don't really need to find a business that needs that heavy capital expenditure.
No, that makes sense completely. So now we come to the final question, which for disclosure is revealed to our guests before they come on the
But full disclosure, I've not prepared. I don't know what I'm going to say.
Thank you. But the question is, if your 18-year-old self had a conversation with your 80-year-old self, what would that conversation be about?
So let me finish this drink
Please.
while we're at it. And the reason I didn't prepare for this was because I feel like I'm so close to... I'm closer to 18 than I am closer to 80, even though I might look a little old. But I don't know. If I'm an 80-year-old man and if I'm still able to have comprehensive thoughts, that's a success. But I would probably look back upon everything and tell my 18-year-old self to follow your passion. My passion was it was cars initially. Now I'm doing something which has nothing to do with cars, except that this can go into the boot of your car and it's got 4 wheels. Yep. So, but all the experiences that I've had in my life have led me to this point, right? I by no means am I successful. So I am never going to say that, hey, to my 18-year-old self, that do this and then you're going to be successful, because I don't know. I've not tasted success yet. I'm still on that journey. I still have a lot to learn from people like you and anyone else who's in the same position as me, because everyone's experiences are different. But just honor your calling. Don't worry about what other people are going to think, because I remember I was very self-conscious when I was an 18-year-old guy. And if I was always self-conscious, I wouldn't be sitting here with you today. I wouldn't be in front of the camera talking to the audience about my products. I wouldn't be featured in my own ads. So don't be self-conscious. Put yourself out there. Speak to as many people as possible. I grew up as an introvert, but I think I've honed my personality now to maybe be not an extrovert, but maybe an ambivert. But try to just talk to as many people as possible, and don't worry about women. The right woman is going to come to you at the right time, and then you're going to be, hopefully, touch wood, hopefully happy ever after. And yeah, that's it, probably.
Are you proud of who you are?
I am very proud of who I am. I just hope that people around me also are proud of who I am. But I know that I've only just scratched the surface. There's a lot more that I have to do. And I'm very humbled that you had me here on your podcast. And I hope that I was able to add a little bit of value to whoever's lives that end up watching this video.
Oh, I can absolutely say for sure. I mean, you've added value to me. For me personally, I'm a service provider, right? So I haven't created a product. I haven't sat down and spent time detailing out something like this and understanding the market. For me, it's about making people feel good, giving people a great service. Obviously, I have certain, I can call myself an expert.
Don't you think the most fulfilling thing is when people come and tell you how happy they were at the products or services that you provided to them? I think that's more than the money that you'll ever make. Of course, you need money to live your life, but for me, it's always more fulfilling when someone unprompted comes and tells us that, hey, I traveled with your product and this is how it helped me, and I absolutely love it.
Oh yes, I mean the one thing I think business owners, entrepreneurs get, which is sort of our mini reward for all the blood, sweat, and tears we put in, is that someone comes up to you and says, "You made a difference to me."
Yeah, I
And
know.
and sometimes I get accused of elevating the accountancy service to a level where we change people's lives and we save lives, but it's genuinely how I feel because I've seen it. There are clients, even this moment, who are applying for a mortgage to buy their home. That's family memories. The client that I'm thinking of right now has just had a baby a few days ago. So that child is now going to grow up in the home that I'm helping to purchase for my client. Now, reality, what am I doing? Okay, I'm providing the documents to the mortgage broker and maybe drafting a couple of letters and maybe explaining a couple of things. I'm not instrumental. My client is still...
No, but the fact that they're able to trust you with that's priceless. That's what you're providing them. You're giving them trust. You're not doing the documentation for them. The fact that they're able to trust you with all that's the service you're providing.
Absolutely.
I think trust. Yeah, that's the service you're providing. You're not doing anything else for them. Anyone else can do what you're doing, right? But the fact that they come to you to do it, that's what's fulfilling.
And I just hope I get an invite to the housewarming. That's all.
Yeah, I would love to have someone like you who I interact with every single day. But unfortunately, I don't think I can afford your services at this point.
Well, when you think about expanding
I hope we get to work together. I would really love that.
I look forward to that too. And Dishant, thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you for being you. And I look forward to reading about your success and Winter's success.
And I really look forward to you telling me how you liked our product or disliked our product. I'm open to everything. If you have criticisms, please come and tell me why you didn't like the product. And I'm sure that we'll work on it and we'll make it better.
Oh, absolutely. I'll be using it tonight, so I'll give you some feedback.
Great. Looking forward to it.